Hello, future lawyers, and welcome. Let's kick things off with a big question, one that really gets to the heart of family law. Are ancient personal laws a form of protection, or are they a cage? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we dive into today's topic.
All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a super important part of your Family Law II paper, Unit 2, all about Muslim law. Every single one of these topics you see here, from mahar all the way to maintenance, is absolutely critical for your exams. So let's get focused.
So what's the game plan? We'll start by breaking down mahar. Then we'll look at how a marriage can be dissolved. After that, we'll get into the rules on a child's legitimacy, untangle the difference between guardianship and custody, and finally, cover the laws on maintenance. And don't worry, we'll wrap it all up with a quick revision to make sure you've got it all down. Let's do this.
First up, Mahr. Now, a lot of people get this wrong. They think it's some kind of bride price, but that's not it at all. Mahr is a fundamental legal right for the wife, and it's designed to be a solid foundation for her financial security.
So, what is mahr really? Well, simply put, it's a sum of money or property that the husband is legally, and I mean legally, bound to give his wife. It's a sign of respect. And here's the best way to think about it for your exams. It's like a security deposit. You know when you rent a house? Mahr works in a similar way, acting as a financial safety net for the wife within the marriage contract.
Now, mahr isn't one size fits all. There are 3 types, and you absolutely need to know this table. First, we have prompt mahr, or muajjal. The wife can ask for this right after the nikah. Boom, it's hers. Second is deferred mahr, or muwajjal. This one becomes payable later when the marriage ends, either through death or divorce. And finally, there's proper mahr. This is what happens if the amount wasn't decided during the nikah. In that case, the court steps in and sets an amount based on her family's social standing. Seriously, memorize this table.
Okay, moving on. Once a marriage is formed, how can it legally be ended? That brings us to our second major topic, the dissolution of marriage, or how a nikah can be brought to a close. This area of law has seen some huge changes recently, so it's a hot topic for exams.
So let me ask you a question. You've all heard the term triple talaq, right? But what is it exactly? And more importantly, why did it become such a massive legal battle? The answer to that question takes us straight to one of India's most important landmark cases. This case, Shah Bano, the Union of India, was a total game changer. Before this, the practice of talaq-e-biddat, where a husband could instantly divorce his wife just by saying talaq 3 times, was a reality. But in 2017, the Supreme Court stepped in and declared it unconstitutional, void, done. Then in 2019, a law was passed that actually made practicing instant triple talaq a criminal offense. So the biggest takeaway here is crystal clear. That practice is now illegal.
So with instant triple talaq out, what are the legally valid ways to get a divorce? Let's break it down. When the husband initiates it, the proper way is talaq ul-sunnah, which has a built-in waiting period, giving time for reconciliation. If the wife wants the divorce, it's called Khula. Here, she essentially buys her freedom, often by agreeing to give up her mahar. When both husband and wife agree to part ways, that's mubarat. And of course, a divorce can always be granted by a court order, which we call a judicial divorce.
Okay, let's shift gears to a really important topic, parentage and legitimacy. This is all about how Muslim law determines if a child is legally recognized as legitimate, and the rules are very specific.
This checklist right here makes it super easy to understand. The number 1 rule is that the child has to be conceived during a valid marriage. Now for the timelines. If a child is born less than 6 months after the wedding, they're usually considered illegitimate, unless the father specifically acknowledges the child. But if the child is born more than 6 months after the marriage, legitimacy is presumed. Simple as that. What if the marriage ends? Well, a child born within 280 days of that is also legitimate. And finally, remember this term, iqrar. This is the formal acknowledgement by a father that can grant legitimacy to a child whose paternity was unclear.
All right, this next one, guardianship versus Hizanat, is where a lot of students get mixed up. They sound similar, but they are totally different concepts. One is about managing the child's property, and the other is about who has physical custody. Let's clear this up for good.
This slide is everything. Just think trustee versus caretaker. Guardianship or wilayat is the role of the trustee. This belongs to the father. He is the natural guardian, responsible for the child's property and major life decisions, and this right is lifelong. On the flip side, we have custody or hizanat. This is the role of the caretaker. This right belongs primarily to the mother. She's responsible for the day-to-day physical care and upbringing, but this right only lasts until the child hits a certain age, like 7 for boys in Hanafi law. So burn this into your brain: father is the trustee of property, mother is the caretaker of the child.
And now for our final core topic for today, maintenance. In Muslim law, this is known as nafaka, the husband's duty to provide for his wife's food, clothing, and shelter. This topic is directly linked to one of the most powerful and controversial cases in the history of Indian law. And here it is, the Shah Bano case. This was monumental. The Supreme Court delivered a verdict that sent shockwaves across the country. It ruled that a divorced Muslim woman had the right to claim maintenance from her ex-husband under a secular law, Section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code, just like any other Indian woman. This judgment confirmed that this right existed outside of personal religious law and sparked a massive national debate.
So, in the aftermath of the Shah Bano judgment, a new law was passed in 1986, and this slide shows you the process under that act. First, the husband has to provide maintenance during the iddah period, which is about 3 months. At the same time, he also has to make a one-time, reasonable, and fair provision for her entire future. If, after all that, she still can't support herself, her own relatives who stand to inherit from her are next in line to help. And if she has no one, the state waqf board steps in.
Whew, we have covered a ton of ground. Now, let's do a quick, rapid-fire revision to make sure all these key concepts are cemented in your brain before the exam. You ready? Let's go.
Okay, here are the top 5 things you cannot forget. 1. Mahr is the wife's financial right, her security deposit. 2. Instant triple talaq is unconstitutional. Khula is when the wife initiates divorce. 3. A child born after 6 months of marriage, presumed legitimate. 4. Guardianship means father is the trustee of property, custody means mother is the caretaker. And 5. The Shah Bano case was huge because it confirmed maintenance rights for Muslim women under the secular law of Section 125 CRPC. Got it? Good.
All right, pop quiz time. First question. What's the key difference between Khula and Mubarat? Think fast.
Exactly. In Khula, the wife is the one who kicks off the process, and she usually gives something back, like her mahr. But in Mubarat, it's all about mutual consent. Both parties agree this isn't working, and they part ways.
Okay, one more. Who is the natural guardian of a Muslim child's property?
That's it, the father. He is always the natural guardian, the trustee of the child's property. This is true even if the child is physically living with the mother who has custody or Hizanat. That distinction is absolutely crucial.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought. Law reflects society, but society must always strive to reflect justice. As you continue your studies, remember to look beyond just the cases and sections. Think about the real human stories and the evolution of justice behind these laws. All the very best for your exams. To watch more informative videos like this, be sure to subscribe to and follow LLB Student Adda. And hey, if there's a new topic you want us to cover, just drop it in the comments below.